Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76, my original Big Discussions 76 channel. I have 3 others now. Those are all located on this channel's wallpaper and vice versa. So I think the groundskeeper, my condo's groundskeepers are far enough away now that I can start talking again. Towards the end of my last video, he was right outside my window blowing leaves and I was trying to talk loud. In any case, please like this video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. So I was going to add something to that last video, but based upon my brother Amal Dunbar's video knowledge and expertise, I decided to split that off and make another shorter video. And this involves Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, and coincidentally it's Father's Day week, and I just published my Father's Day 2020 blog post, which I'm going to leave in the description box below, and that was the basis of the previous video. In any case, Robert and his book Rich Dad Poor Dad and his game Cash Flow 101 were the basis of that blog post, in addition to a lesson my father taught me regarding money and investing. So Robert recently got in the news, and I saw this over on Twitter based upon some comments he made about Black Lives Matter and these riots and the protests regarding law enforcement and the murder of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and most recently Rayshard Brooks. So first of all, Robert, I've read most of the Rich Dad Poor Dad books. I own Cash Flow 101, the actual board game, and actually the e-game. And Robert is a controversial character, and his books and his information are not well received by a lot of people. He's controversial because one of the biggest criticisms people have of him, number one, is that, you know, being an employee, most of us were raised to be employees. So for someone to come along and say that your house or your primary residence is not an asset, and that being an employee is not smart, that you need to be a business owner and an investor to get the most out of your life and not live in slavery to employers and the system, for someone to come along and say that disrupts and angers a lot of people. So people don't like that. Another controversy is whether or not his rich dad is real, and whether or not the stories Robert tells in the books are real. That's a real thing. He has a lot of detractors and dissenters because of that. And actually, when I was trying to launch off into real estate myself, that's something that an ex-girlfriend and another friend both kind of sandwiched me in and said one time that, you know what, this guy's materials aren't even real. I can't find online where he actually did any real estate deals, and I can't find online where Robert actually has done or owns anything that he talks about in his books. So he's pretty controversial. But I would personally say that regardless of whether or not you like him, and regardless of whether or not you can find online whether or not Robert owns properties or has started businesses or whatever, the books are important because they make you think about where you are and where you were raised, and they make you think about if there's something else you can be doing besides working for someone else for all of your good years. And I think that for me, that was a major addition and value. That was major value added to my life. So I can vouch for that. And I've started this YouTube channel. I started my blogging platform. I started writing the book I'm working on in large part because of Robert and Rich Dad Poor Dad. So you have people who believe in him, and you have people who think it's all a hoax. So what Robert said basically, and so Robert is a very cut and dry, black and white, no nonsense type of guy. And he tells you what's on his mind, whether you like it or not, and he doesn't respect what he perceives to be weakness, excuses, etc., etc. By the way, he's also gone on record as saying that Donald Trump is a very smart man. On Twitter earlier this week, in response to, I think it was immediately in response to the Rayshard Brooks thing, uh, the murder, the increased backlash against the police, and then the Wendy's burning, Robert took to Twitter and tweeted that I saw it, and I actually left a comment underneath that said "straight fire," based upon Jim Rome. Jim Rome usually says that on his show when someone comes in with a take that's very inflammatory, and when that take is taking a shot at someone else. So I just wrote "straight fire" under it. But he basically came in and took a shot, I believe, at Black Lives Matter and the protesters and those individuals burning down buildings and businesses. And so when I went back on Twitter, some people had reacted to my tweet, and there was a backlash against Robert's tweet because he wasn't siding with social justice and those kinds of things. And I think Robert and his handlers, they took the tweet down. And I think the reason they took the tweet down, number one, is because Robert is a personality and he's a business owner. And one thing you have to think about when you're a business owner and a public figure like that is protecting your personal brand. And right now, we're at a point now where there's a popular narrative and there's an unpopular narrative. And the popular narrative is to side with Black Lives Matter and social justice. And if you say anything against Black Lives Matter and social justice, you're going to get attacked and demonized. So he took that down, and he got a little bit of backlash himself for not being woke and not being sympathetic to what's going on. So again, I think he has to be protective of his branding. But I'm going to ask any viewers of this, is there something to what he said? In terms of where he sits in this whole thing, Robert is a businessman. And so, as you would expect, he's sympathetic to business. And so, the rationale is that the Wendy's didn't call the cops on Rayshard Brooks, it was someone else. And also, the business owners didn't call the cops on Rayshard Brooks. So the business arguably had nothing to do with him being murdered. The other question, going back to one of my videos from a couple of weeks ago, is that when these businesses burn down, those businesses might not come back to that particular neighborhood. So the people all around those businesses, the workers who work in the companies, the people who live in the neighborhoods around those businesses, the folks who patronize that Wendy's on a regular basis, now they don't have some place to go get food. The municipality is losing its tax revenue from that business. And so there are going to be a lot of, while those protesters and whoever started that fire at that Wendy's wanted to make their point, there's going to be a lot of unintended consequences for that Wendy's burning down. And also, as a business owner, those business owners and whoever owned that Wendy's, they're losing revenue. The people who worked at that Wendy's, they're losing their jobs. They're going to have a harder time feeding their families, and so on, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm saying all this to say is that, while there's this large push for social justice right now, I think there's going to be a problem if it outweighs common sense and logical thought and practical solutions. So I think while we do need law enforcement reform, and we do need the police we need policing that's going to regulate itself and do the right things and not put itself in such precarious situations and not put society in such precarious situations. But I think while there's this push for social justice, I think we're going to need some sort of balance on the other end in terms of practical solutions and logic and critical thought and logical thought. So that's what I wanted to say about Robert Kiyosaki. I would challenge everyone to think about, he's a very abrasive man. I saw him speak live at the 2000 Rich Dad Annual Forum in Orlando, and I remember there was a group of us that met afterwards, and someone didn't like some of the comments. I'm sorry. Someone didn't like some of the comments that Robert made when he addressed all of us live on stage. He's a very abrasive man. He's a no-nonsense man. And some would say that he's a very callous man in terms of his beliefs and his convictions and his conclusions on things. But I would challenge everybody to question, is there something to what he said in his tweet? What can we take away from his tweet that might actually help this entire situation? Because we can go too far left into complete chaos and anarchy to the point where people are hungry and people are starving, and to where the situation is a lot worse than what it actually was to begin with. So that's all I wanted to say. Please like this video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. And I'm going to leave my Father's Day blog post in the description box below as well, because that was the genesis of this whole discussion for me. Or should I say, that's how I was able to pull Robert into this thing. Please like this video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.